Ah yes, hello dear, so we're back. As we said at the beginning, it's a full house here, so don't be surprised if you find yourself a bit more fatigued over the next several days than normal, because you are shifting a lot. Your guides are here working on you energetically. So don't be alarmed if you feel like you're a bit fatigued. That's normal, because what's happening is you're shifting energy patterns in your body. Your body wants you to shut down so it doesn't have to deal with processing food and you doing errands and exercising and that kind of thing. All it has to focus on is processing the energy through your body. So you'll feel fatigued in order to get you to do that, in order to lay down and go to sleep. So it's nothing wrong, it's just part of the ascension process. Also, we want to remind you again to make sure that you're consuming plenty of water over the coming days as well. That's going to help you. It will also help with the fatigue because you're helping to flush the body out. All right, so having said that, let's get back to where we were. So one of the things that we want to share with you today is talking about the activation, and we're going to talk about it very briefly here, the activation of the new energetic field. All right, because when you activate this new level or layer of your energetic field, it's like turning on full-time the template to connect you to collective consciousness. All right? As we said before, you can call it the diamond light body. You can call it the crystalline body. You can call it the vibrational body. You're going to hear it by all kinds of names, but it's all the same thing. It's the new template that creates the new version of your physical vehicle. Now, the reason why it's called the diamond light body is because it is shaped in the same form as a diamond. It is the octahedron. All right, and so we've got a little illustration over here for you. It is a four-cornered pyramid. All right, if you put two of them together, turn one upside down, that's your octahedron. So what you're doing is you're activating this new diamond light body. And so you're going to spin the diamond octahedron in order to get it moving and activated. Now, what we'd like to do today is to give you a meditation, to give you a little sense of the energy. Are you going to activate it today? Probably not. But it's like most things, you've got to try it a few times until you get the energy running. You're going to go up and then you're going to go down, and then the next time you try, you're going to get it a little higher. All right, until eventually you get it turned and started all the way. The best thing you can do for yourself in order to move through this process is to process out your own fears. We cannot stress this enough, how important it is to look at where you're resonating in any given moment. This is the greatest tool in your toolbox for going through ascension. All right, this is really all you have to do. Ascension is not a difficult process. The mind makes it difficult, saying it's hard to change. But how you go about letting go, how you go about increasing your vibration, the technical aspect of it is pretty simple. All right, we know it's not easy, having worked with you before. We know this, we understand it. So what we do want to tell you first about this energetic body is that you have had it in the human field before. As we said, approximately 300,000 years ago, the human vehicle had this light body activated, this template activated. You were coming down through the process of its descension. Now, Atlantis, in its higher civilization, if you want to call it that, at the time, at the peak of its civilization, when it was at its height, in the most robust state, it had access to this. The beings who were here on this planet knew that they were multidimensional. They also knew that they were playing this game of density, and they got to turn on and off the switch. All right, they didn't stay in density for long. They would go into it and they would come out of it. They would go into it and they would come out of it. So each time they went down into it, they created another level or layer to their own field that held the denser frequencies. You're moving the opposite way. All right, you're creating and strengthening one that is higher in frequency. They were trying to go lower. And so the more they played around in density, duality, played around with fear, anxiety, worry, stress, guilt, doubt, all those lovely emotions that you have, they were able to stay in density for longer periods of time and they created what you now have as your energetic field. So as you start to reactivate this body, you have the ability to tap right back into those lifetimes where they had access to it. All right, remember, this is part of your records, and you have all of this information in your genetic line because you are part of that genetic line. It is in your DNA. That information, that record, is part of your programming. So you can go ahead and access that information. Now, Atlantis had 3 great civilizations. It had 3 great rises and falls. The last one that you will think about, the one that you tap into, that was over 12,000 years, close to almost 13,000 years ago. And with the downfall of that, this ability to switch back and forth between operating systems had been virtually lost. There were some within the priestly caste who remembered that this was the name of the game and that they could shift, just as you have channels today. There were beings in that civilization who would communicate with other beings in other star systems and other planetary systems in the solar system. The Anunnaki were on Mars, and at the time many of the priestly castes were communicating with the Anunnaki. All right, they weren't considered to be what you all experience them to be today. All right, they were considered to be allies, but then you have to look at who was actually connecting with them. Some of the darker priests, all right, who had a lot of the same programming going on that the Anunnaki had, so they were allied. So most of the Atlanteans didn't turn on, didn't switch operating systems. They were rather similar today to most of humanity. They didn't really care what was going on with the priestly caste, just as most of you don't really care what's going on with them. All right? So as you got to the end of this period, the knowledge of working with the power of one was present within the priestly caste. But what happened is they used the power, but they forgot the connection part of it. All right? They didn't look at the ramifications of their actions. So they knew that as they sat in a group and they focused on connecting to each other, that they shared an intent about what they wanted to create, that signal was amplified, but they had become so disconnected with their heart centers and with Mother Earth that they couldn't really feel what was happening to all the other beings on the planet or the planet itself. And now this is where you're coming to again. All right, you're working more and more with the planet, and you're going to start to work as a collective. You're already seeing this happen with the Gulf, as we've already talked about. You've got healers around the world who are banded together during certain times to set an intent to send loving light energy to reconnect with the planet. And that's pretty special. So you're already starting to reactivate a lot of this energy of oneness, this group collective consciousness, utilizing it to empower yourselves, to change your version of reality. The more of you who are on the same page, who have the same intent, the stronger the vibrational frequency is, the faster it is pulled into reality. Now, especially at this time when things are manifest very, very quickly, when enough of you are pulsing that out, you're pulling it in very, very quickly. It takes a very short amount of time to change it. Now, for you to create a template, it doesn't require a majority. It doesn't require a majority of you to change reality. It requires a very small number of you. 144,000 is the magic number that you've heard bantered about time and time again. 144,000 is the number that will create a new Earth template. All right, a new Earth grid, so that everybody else doesn't have to search around for the information. You have held and maintained a frequency, and now you're putting it out there so that everybody else can. They don't have to be in your proximity any longer. All your friends and family could pick it up because you were close to them and they were in your proximity. But when the 144,000 of you band together energetically, who are in alignment with their vibrational signature, you create the grid that everyone can plug into, whether they're in your proximity or not. Do you all understand this? Mm-hmm. All right.
How far are we now? How many numbers is there now?
For what? Exactly.
For doing this, how much up to the 144,000 are we?
Well, it depends on what it is you want to create.
What you were just telling us?
Well, we're talking about
connecting to the grid.
which grid. That's a point. So there. So you're creating multiple grids. So one of the grids that you're all working on is about health and healing and the planetary system, all right, of connecting with nature. That's one of the grids. Now, each of the chakras within the body connect with the chakras of the planet, all right? Now, what you're really working on is the 8th center, all right, and that template, that connectedness to mass consciousness, and you do that through several different ways and initiations. So as you hold more events where you're working to heal the water, as you hold more events where you are working to heal the planet, to ground more love, to hold more compassion, you have grids of compassion, all right, you have grids of connection. They're slightly different, by the way. So when you ask us, how are you doing, it's which grid, all right? You just, several days ago, with the solstice, anchored an existing grid. It's like the grid was up, but there wasn't a lot of power running through it. And during the solstice, you all were doing a lot of meditations to help heal the planet, to realign yourselves, and you got the full power running through the grid. And it was a grid of compassion. All right, so you're holding and operating a new level of compassion just within the last several days. So what this will allow all of you to do is to find more compassion in your lives. Have more compassion for yourselves. It's a little easier for you all to have compassion for other people than it is for yourselves. All right, you are your own worst critic. And you would afford someone else the benefit of the doubt before you would give it to yourself. If you would not talk to a child the way that you're speaking to yourself, you shouldn't be speaking to yourself that way. Do you all understand? Mm-hmm. Yes. So you have already activated some of them. And there are new levels and layers for things that you want to create. Some of the grids will be unexpected. That there may be new things that you all decide that you want to give a whirl, that you want to give a try. And so you'll create and generate those. Now you create smaller grids or templates in localized areas. And literally what you're doing is creating a vortex. When a group gets together and they have an intention, a shared intention, they literally can create a vortex in a grid so that those in the local area can tap into that energy. That's why when you go to a particular location and it feels really great, you feel the energy going through, it's because there's been something anchored there. All right, there's energy that's anchored there. Now it can be on a ley line of the earth, one of the energetic centers running through the earth, or it can also be something that's been grounded, and it may not necessarily be on a ley line, but energy that's been grounded by the collective, a small collective. Right? It doesn't have to be huge. These smaller collectives, once there are enough of you, 144,000 of you, it becomes an earth grid. All right, does that make sense for everyone? Mm-hmm. You yourself are a walking vortex. Once you get yourself in alignment, you are a vortex and you create your own grid system. All right, your beliefs, that's your own personal grid system. So you are rewiring and reworking your own grid system. So we want to take a moment here and we want to do a short little meditation. It's just a few minutes long and we'll allow you the opportunity to do that. And then we'll come back and talk a bit more.
Divine Light Body Meditation. Begin by envisioning yourself in your mind's eye. As you breathe in, see the expanded version of you, your divine light body, that holds within it the divine codes of ascension and activation of the Diamond Light vehicle. You hold within you the innate wisdom to activate this light body. As you breathe in, see more and more light entering into this field that surrounds your physical vehicle. This field pulses with the love-light frequency of Divine Source. You are the incarnational aspect of Source itself. As you continue to breathe deeply, this field expands. As you exhale, notice any areas of resistance. More light is guided to these areas to reinforce and restructure the fine light-encoded filaments that allow the energy to flow freely. As the field continues to expand, you are now able to sense more energy effortlessly flowing. Envision in your mind's eye a pyramid with a four-cornered base. The base of the pyramid sits just below your navel. The apex of the pyramid extends to the crown of your head. Now envision a second pyramid. Invert this pyramid so that its base aligns with the base of the first pyramid. The tip of the second pyramid extends to your feet. This is the diamond octahedron. As the breath evenly moves in and out, the diamond octahedron begins to spin in a counterclockwise direction, gaining speed as you draw energy up from the earth and down from the celestial light realms. Brilliant frequencies of pure white light emanate from the spinning diamond octahedron. Feel the energy beginning to build within your chest, allowing the sensation to amplify and radiate outward towards your extremities. The diamond octahedron continues to spin ever faster until the energy can no longer be contained within the divine light body and sparks like a star into activation.
All right, so you've all had a chance here to activate your divine light body. So what you do when you connect, there's a reason why, again, your diamond is considered to be the perfect crystal because of the shape of it. When you activate this diamond light body, you are connected to Source, and Source is perfection. So that's why your diamond is called perfection and the crystal of perfection, because it holds the same frequency because of its shape. So once you get this activated, you can very easily and effortlessly connect to the grid system, all right? Because when this is active, you've got all of these chakras open, and you can go out and access all these different grids with information. Now, how do you process information? How does it feel? What does it seem like? It will seem to you to be an inner knowing, with absolute certitude, without any sort of doubt whatsoever. All right? It's a completely different way of being for you all, because there's usually some sort of doubt that's still lingering about in your mind, even when you feel pretty sure about something. Yes? Take a deep breath, everyone. All right, and give us one more. Now, some of you are still holding within your energetic field the knowledge and memory of Egypt and being in Egypt. Now, with the fall of Atlantis, a lot of the energies, a lot of the knowledge and wisdom was transferred to 12 different areas on the planet. All right, this is where you get the legend of your 12 tribes from. 12 is a master number. It is the building block of this system. All right, so that this system is based on 12. You actually have 12 planets in the solar system. You don't see them because they're not all resonating within the third dimension. Some of them have already removed their energy from the third dimension. At this time on the planet, where you are, in a much further time back, you could see all 12 planets. One was destroyed. That's your asteroid belt. All right, it no longer exists in the third dimensional realm, but the planet itself is whole and healthy in the higher realms. So 12 is a very important number for all of you. It is the base structure. You've got 12 dimensions. All right, 13 is also a very important number because the 12 combine to form the 1, and we consider that the 13th number. And the combination of the 12 is source energy. All right, the 1 is source. See where we're going here? We're always back to the 1. There's no escaping it because you are 1. You are divine source energy that has just continued to split itself again and again and again. So in Egypt, again, the density continued. The knowledge was still there about working with the power of 1 and working with tone and sound is the other component to it. Now, what could be created and generated out of tone and sound was the ability to create standing waves, standing vibrations. That is really what a grid is. It's like it's a more sophisticated version of a standing wave. A standing wave is a vibration that has no end, that continues to fuel itself and goes on and on and on until there is another frequency that creates an interference pattern in it. All right? Your standing waves, a lot of your stone circles were generated and created to form standing waves. They were power plants, in essence. It was a way to generate and manifest energy. So when you had all this energy flowing and you put your intent behind it, it amplified the signal even more. And so once again, here you are utilizing the power of the collective to instantly manifest. All right? And in Egypt, this knowledge was still there, but again, you were coming down. You were going through the process of descension until just recently when you hit bottom and started coming back up. So a lot of the same problems in Egypt were a continuation of those who were in Atlantis, with the abuse of this knowledge and power of 1 without the connection to Mother Earth. There is plenty of information that has been encoded in a lot of the older scriptures, also with a lot of the Native American traditions, any of the Aboriginal traditions. The knowledge and the power of 1 is present in all of them. It is the universal truth that you will find in all of your ancient scriptures. And it is where you all have to go back to if you want to go through the ascension process. You have to reconnect to see that separation is an illusion. Any questions?
How quick do you have to let your light body spin? With speed?
It depends. It depends on what you're going to find is it goes faster and faster and faster. And for each person, it's going to be different until it sparks. All right? Until you see and feel it spark, and what it's going to feel like is an orgasm through your entire body. All right? If you get that going, then you know you've got it. And you'll have an expanded sense of yourself. You aren't going to feel like you're contained by your vehicle. You're going to be of your vehicle, but you're not going to be contained by it. Do you all understand that? It's a bit of a hard concept until you experience it, because you're so used to experiencing your body. But you will be of your vehicle, but not in it. You'll be expanded beyond it in your consciousness. But you'll know you're still focused into the vehicle. That's the other part of it. You've got to get in the vehicle in order to activate your divine light body. So we wanted to give you a little experience. You were the first to have the opportunity to experience this, as we have given it to Wendy. So you can continue to do this, and if you would want, we would encourage you to play around with groups and set intentions. What do you want to create? Even for yourselves as individuals. Do you want to create more stability? Do you want to create more energy for yourselves in your physical vehicle? Do you want to create health and healing? But be aware of the potency. Be careful what you ask for, is what we're saying. Because you're going to get it. And you're going to get it very, very quickly. So what we would recommend is first that you, if you have a group, that you ground yourselves, all right, that you do some sort of visualization to ground yourselves, and then you can do some sort of visualization to activate yourself, to connect with the collective. You can run your diamond light body if you want. There are a lot of other visualizations you can do. You can see yourself connecting, however you want to visualize that for you is appropriate. And then make sure that you've set an intent. Get on board, have everyone say what it is that they want to support, what it is that they want to create, and then hold that resonance, hold that frequency, that feeling of absolute bliss of getting it, of achieving it, and knowing with absolute certainty that what you are projecting will be manifested. Now, that's important for you all to know as well, that absolutely everything that you pulse is manifested. Perhaps not in the time nor in the way that you're expecting it, but it's still manifested in some way. All right? You may be pulsing it out, and the vibration of it, because you cannot maintain that signature that you're pulsing out, you may put yourself on another timeline. It's still being manifested. There is a version that will catch up with that. There is a part of you that will once again run into that experience where you match that frequency that you're pulsing out. But the version of you that's on the timeline that you're focused on, where your life is, may have a slightly different experience until you increase that vibration and once again cross over and cross paths with that probable reality. Take a deep breath. A lot of mind bending going on today. We're challenging you, and again, as we said, we are trying to keep it not too linear because it keeps you out of your mind. Right? Keeps you from trying to pull it all apart and make sense of it. We want you to feel it, because the mind can't grasp this, because it's a unidimensional filter. The concepts we're talking about, they're multidimensional. It's connected with source, so the mind can't get that because the mind is the separation tool. All right? But the heart has the expanded awareness, and you always have access to that. You're never separate from it. And you switch back and forth between the operating systems, between the head and the heart. But what we would say to you is to be more mindful about which operating system you're running. Be aware of what you're running. Are you situated in the heart center, or are you situated in the mind? Where's the ego? Is the ego involved? If the ego's involved, you're in your head. Otherwise, you're in your heart and everything feels more unconditional. Any questions?
I have a question about the diamond light body.
Yes?
2 weeks ago, Sylvie and I were meditating together, and then we suddenly felt a new layer was added to our field.
Yes.
Is that the diamond light body, or was it a different layer?
No, you started to activate it, yes. You got it all built into place. Now you're running more and more energy through it. It's like you got the template built, all right, but you're not running full energy through it. You've got the wiring there, but you haven't turned the electricity on. And you all are going to start working on this more and more. We don't want to talk about it too much, but you have a crystalline matrix, which is an overlay to your meridian system, and you are creating new wiring so that you can run this new energy. And this is your new crystalline matrix. So before you all really fully activate this diamond light body, you're going to get the crystalline matrix in place first. All right? So we already see the wheels turning. Where am I? What percentage? We don't want you to get trapped in that.
I have this spinning sensation, like I'm turning like a tool.
Like a top.
Like spin, like a spinning, like something, a toy which is spinning.
It's a top. We call that a top in English, yes. Yes, that's precisely it. And here's the thing. You've got to be in the body, because if you're not focused in the body, this top is going to spin out of control. Like when the speed, the vibration slows down, it wobbles. All right, so your diamond light body it wobbles all over. If you're not in it, if you're not focused, if you're grounded in the body, then your energy is focused and it can spin tightly. So that's something else for you all to be aware of when you're visualizing and how you feel this energy. If it's going a bit all over the place, then you're not in your body. You've got to ground. So yes, you're going to feel it spinning more and more. And you can work with this, but again, we don't want you to get locked into, how many strands of DNA have I connected? Have I activated all of my chakras? Where am I at? Because you're so conditioned with competition. Because you're afraid of being left behind. This is a fear. See how that's playing itself out. I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to be a failure. I don't want to be here. That's just simple. Some of you say, I've been here long enough, I don't want to be here. That's still fear. That's still the sense of separation, because what you came here to do was to bring your higher consciousness into the body. And in order to hold the higher consciousness in the body, you've got to have all 12 chakras open so that you can access all that information in the grids. All right?
So you have to let it go.
Yes.
Okay.
And know that you're going to get there at the divine right time. Some people are going to get there a little bit earlier than others. Remember, as we said, some of you have contracts. You say, all right, I'll be the first one to wake up. You all can sleep for a while. Some of you are going to decide that you're going to stick around a bit longer before you activate it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you're still going to go. If you want to go, you'll find a way to go at the appropriate time. It may be earlier, it may be later. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The soul doesn't care about time. You're so locked into time. It's an illusion. Your reality is an illusion. And know this, that you're already on the other side, fully connected, saying, oh, well, this is an interesting process. I want to enjoy the process. You don't really care about getting to the other side. The soul does not care about getting to the other side. The soul is interested in the process that you go through to get there. Let's say that again. This is huge. This will take the pressure off. All right, for you all the thinking that you've got to get there. The soul does not care.
Wendy, I've got a question.
Yes.
What is the difference between the vertical, what we are using, like the octahedra and the Merkaba?
The Merkaba is going to activate a different layer in your field. All right, so this is literally the shape that is going to work with the new vehicle, the new physical vehicle. Now the octahedron is activating, the tetrahedron, the star tetrahedron is activating you in a slightly different way, and it's connecting you in a different way. It also works with your the current vehicle. All right, the octahedron is working with the fourth dimensional vehicle. All right, does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, but they're both important to run because you're still in the physical vehicle. Do you all understand what we're talking about? The Star of David, if you want to see it as a two-dimensional shape. We call it the Merkaba. All right. It's three-pointed instead of four in the base of the triangle. All right. So one works with the physical vehicle that you've got. The other is activating the new one. All right. So you're trying to activate, and you're still working with the one that you got to increase the vibration until you cross that barrier, and then you're going to start working with the new one. So we're kind of skipping that step for you because there are others who've worked on it and who've held it into the grid, that you can tap into that record and overlay it with what you're doing now. See, that's the benefit of creating new grids and templates. You can just plug right in and download that information instead of you having to do it all on your own. It's much, much easier. But remember, it's not about the end goal. It's about the experience, and that's what you all need to remember and to savor. Savor the experience. Don't be in a rush to get to the end, because this is the interesting part. This is the part that all the other beings in the galaxy want to know about. They don't care about crossing over because they know what it's like on the other side. They want to know what it's like to go through the ascension process. That's where the really good stuff is. So what else?
Maybe today, like grounding, some advice on grounding and exercise.
There's a visualization that we always like to give. It's good for grounding and clearing. Utilizes the elements of the earth with the colors of your 7 chakras. So you start with the color red. See yourself in your mind's eye. and you want to see a red tornado swirling around your body, and as it swirls, it's clearing everything out. All right, as you breathe in, it grows in intensity. As you exhale, anything that doesn't belong to you or anything of a lower frequency that is no longer of service to you dissipates. 3 breaths in and out. Then you're going to switch on to the next element, which is rain. So you're going to allow red rain to pour over your body, washing away anything that doesn't belong to you or anything that is no longer of service to you. And then after 3 breaths, you're going to switch to the next element, which is fire. So red flame, purifying your energy field. 3 breaths in and out. Then you're going to change colors and start the series over. So then you're going to move on to yellow, to orange. So you're going to move to orange, and you're going to have an orange tornado, orange rain, and orange flame. 3 breaths in and out for each visualization. So 9 breaths for each color. Then on up to yellow. Green or pink. Pink is going to connect you with the planet, your 8th chakra, or and the collective consciousness. Or green is going to connect you to your personal healing energy. All right, and working on your own physical vehicle. If your goal is grounding and getting in tune with your body, work with green. If what you want to do is connect more with the collective consciousness, then you want to work with pink. So then you're moving on up to blue, indigo, purple, and then you're going to finish it all off with a silvery white light. The silvery white is going to ground you to the planet. So you've got silvery white tornado, silvery white rain, and silvery white flame. All right? After 72 breaths, you're going to feel really energized. And it's going to feel like a really long time because you are not all used to breathing that much. So if that's a lot for you, you can cut it down to 1 breath for each. But we would highly recommend breathing 3 times for each visualization. And that's a quick way to get in your body. We recommend doing it first thing in the morning when you wake up because you've been out of your body all night. So if you're somebody who it usually takes an hour or 2 for you to really feel like you're awake and alert, this is going to be a wonderful exercise for you because you get you right into your body. And it will energize your body because remember, the breath moves energy, so you're automatically getting your energy going, you're getting your metabolism going, you're getting everything moving. So it's really wonderful to do in the morning, and then you can do it again at night if you have been running around all day and not really paying attention and come home with some extra energy that doesn't belong to you. It's a good way to get rid of it. All right, so that would be our recommendation. Any other questions?
Really, when I close my eyes, I see always the color of purple. Is that my soul, or is that something else? Or?
Right now you're pulling in more energy from your crown chakra. You're trying to pull in higher wisdom. You're trying to pull in that energy, so you're seeing it. Your own energetic field does change in color.
But it comes automatically.
Yes. And you're really seeing purple at those times when you're expanded, because and that's why purple tends to also be, in particular for you, the dominant color, because at those times where you feel expanded and you're seeing your own auric field, the reason that you're seeing your auric field is because you've activated that crown chakra. So purple is what you recognize. As you continue to increase your frequency, you're going to notice more and more colors in your energetic field because that will be open. So do you understand what we mean by that?
Yeah.
All right. But your own color, you've got a lot of blue in your own field, in your own energy field.
Yeah.
Yes. But when you expand yourself, because you're in that expanded state, you're seeing the purple.
And it turns to purple.
Yes. Because you have a lot of blue. But what's happened, when you expand your awareness, when you get in those heightened states and you can actually see your auric field, you're really pulling in information from the crown, which is what's making it purple.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Very good. So what else? Got a little bit of time.
I was thinking of the problem of, is there an easy way to discover your passion, and what can you do if it keeps on changing all the time?
Well, your passion is constantly going to change, otherwise life is going to be boring. So change is a good thing, change is constant. But you all feel like you have no compass for where passion is. That's a big problem for a lot of you. And what we recommend is you go back to the last time you felt passion. If you can't think back that far, which unfortunately is common for a lot of you, we say go back to your childhood. What did you like to do in childhood? Did you like to play with cars? Did you like to play with your dolls? How did your dolls play together? You know, did they play psychotherapist or did they play makeup artist? That'll give you an indication of the things that you like. Did you like puzzles? Did you like to build models? Each of these things will help you to gain some clarity about what skills you like utilizing. Do you like seeing the big picture and see where everything fits in? Probably means you're a puzzle maker when you're little. So what would you like to do in life? Work in areas where you get to utilize the big picture skills. If you work in the corporate world, it means utilizing or having a job that you get to see how everything fits together. You've got a mentality for that. You've got a way of seeing the big picture. It's probably a skill, a gift. Gifts are often very difficult to see because you take them for granted. You think everybody processes information in that way, but they don't, and that it's unique to you. It's kind of hard when you're separate to know how somebody else feels or how they process information. Sometimes you all will bring in a partner or a friend who has a completely different belief system. Now here's someone that you are experiencing love for, and they're teaching you unconditional love, but they're also teaching you that people can have a completely different belief system and wiring. Because you've all had the experience where you met someone and you thought, how in the world did they get to that end result for that belief? Because it is so different from your own. So you might bring someone in to help illuminate that, to see that there are lots of ways of getting there, that you all have unique qualities about you, and this is part of your own personal matrix, your own personal grid system, all right, that makes you unique. So did that help?
Yes, thank you.
So if you like to read as a child, like I did, my big passion was reading, but how on earth could I earn a living from reading?
You could be an editor. All right, there are a lot of things. You could be a researcher. But you are limiting yourself because you are thinking that there is no market for what it is that you want to do. What you've got to do is step into the driver's seat and pulse out what you want to do, and there will be something that is presented to you. It's all you shifting your reality to see that you are creators, that you're creating everything. You can create a position for you that never existed before. You don't have to wait for one to be there and you've got to fit yourself into it. It doesn't work that way. It's the other way around. You're the creator being. And you all are realigning yourselves to do things on a day-to-day basis that are uplifting to you. That's why there are so many people who are without jobs. That's why economies are collapsing, to get people out of these old programs, to get them to wake up, to shift jobs. And you can see it as a negative. We see it as a huge positive, that they are having to reassess what's important in their lives and what they want to do with it. The other thing that you will find is that you will probably have multiple streams of income, most of you, because it is one of the preparations for the ascension process that you are learning how to hold multiple focus in third dimensional reality. And what that means for most of you is multiple jobs. It also changes your perception that your job is not your income. You are your own source of income. Not your job, not your employer. It's not your paycheck. You are the creator and generator of your own income based on your belief systems. So dream. That is what we would say to you. If you put out the qualities that you want, the essence of what it is that you want to create, and be open to the form that it takes, and you start pulsing it out, and you can get a group together for this about, what do they want to create for themselves for jobs? You can work with the power of the collective consciousness to amplify that signal of everyone wanting to do something to be of service. When you see yourselves being of service, that is the highest frequency that you can hold on the planet at this time. That's what all of you came here to do. That is your life purpose, to be of service. Now, how you choose to do that is unique to each and every one of you. But that's the end goal, to be of service. So when you pulse that out, guess what? It comes back much faster than I want a job so I can make money, so I can do this, that, and the other. That's a lower vibration than I want to do something that is uplifting, that feels fabulous, and I get to help other people. People get to benefit from whatever it is I do. Even if it's just one person, that's okay. But that vibration is very, very different than I want to make money so I can travel and have a house. Light years apart. But you can use the group energy. There are plenty of people who are around you who would be happy to work in a group setting to amplify that desire. And they would like to hold that for you. See, here's another catch. To work with group energy, they're being of service by pulsing that out for you and holding that vision for you as well, which helps them to amplify their own signals, because they're holding the highest vibrational possible to be of service for another. Did you all get that? It's a bit tricky.
Yes.
All right. So we hope that helps. But don't limit yourself. Dream big. And this is, this is what you're all learning. That just because things were one way in the past does not mean that they will be that way in the future. That's important for you to stop using the past as a reference point. In the past I had to have this skill set or that skill set in order to get this job. Knock it off. That's what we say. All right? That was the past. This is different energy. You're different. So the results are going to be different simply because of your past experience. You're not going to it can't be identical. It's impossible, because by the mere fact that you've had the situation, it has changed your energy in some way, so you cannot have an identical experience. So you can drop that notion of, I keep repeating patterns. Each time, even if you think the pattern is the same, there's some subtle nuance that's different to it. That the soul says, all right, well, maybe I'll get it this time if I shift it just a bit. Maybe I'll pay attention. And so you do. You try. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes not so well, and you do it again. But that's all right. The soul doesn't care. It's all about experience. The ego says, I'm not good enough, or I must succeed in order to be loved. That's the ego. The soul says, that was an interesting experience. It was a vibrational selection. I saw how that worked out. I'll try something new now. Deep breath. So what else?
I have a question about the oneness.
Yes?
Are we able in our physical vehicle to experience more and more this feeling of unity with everyone and everything? Or is that in the other dimension outside of your vehicle?
No, you're going to feel it in your vehicle. You're really going to feel it in your heart center. You're just going to find that you have more and more compassion for people. You're going to find that you don't have as much anger, resentment, frustration, guilt. You don't have as much of that running, and so you feel better. You feel like you have more energy. And as a result, because you're letting go of those lower emotions, you have more compassion for you. More unconditional love for you. Because all those fears are judgments that you hold against you. You just play it out with everybody else. So when you're angry with someone else, you're really angry at yourself. If somebody else is judging you, it's because you're judging you. And they're just the mirror. It always comes back to self. So yes, you will have that experience in the vehicle. You'll feel different. You'll feel more lighthearted. You'll feel like you've got more energy. Everything comes to you in a much easier way. There's not as much struggle because there's not as much resistance. Because you're maintaining the frequency. You're not dropping out and going back up and dropping out again. So it gets easier. The higher you go, the ebbs and flows is the peaks and valleys aren't quite as far apart until you switch dimensional ranges, until you transit across them.
But there are little moments, very rare moments, and you feel really connected to everything, and that's
those will
really
become
special.
Yes, and they will become longer moments. They'll become more frequent, and you'll hold them longer. Because remember, here's the rub. As you hold that higher frequency, anything you haven't cleared will start to get activated. All right, so it will drop you back out. So you'll go up, you'll drop out. But what will happen is you drop out of it less, and the drop isn't as far. But you will experience it. And keep focusing on it. All right, keep striving to go back there and hold that feeling, to try to recapture that feeling. It's not a stretch for you. The mind might say, well, that's a stretch. I don't know what that feels like. But, the exercise we always use is to find something that puts a smile on your face. And we like animals. We like nature. People, you may have programs running so that you're not aware of. So try to visualize that, and that will get you back there. And the more you hold that, the easier it gets to get back there, and the more frequently you go back. But yes, you'll experience it in the physical vehicle. What else?
A question.
Yes?
Can you tell a little bit more about dying, leaving Earth, how the process is, and tell about how it's going to change?
Well, some people will go through the death process. As we said, not everybody wants to go into the higher realms, so they will experience what is akin to death and go to a planet that has a similar paradigm as Earth, because Earth will be done with the third dimension. And everyone who goes will be willing. Now, those of you who are going through the ascension process, you will no longer be going through a death cycle. It is different. You will shift dimensions, you will shift your focus, you'll shift the reality, the patterning. Now, the fourth dimension is a transitory zone. It is one that beings don't stay in for very long. They're going in order to adjust, going from density, from the third dimension, to adjust to having that expanded sense of awareness. So you all aren't going to stay there very long. Everybody always asks for a number, but once you get to the fourth dimension, there is no time. So we can't really give you a figure. So when you're done there, you won't go through the death cycle, but rather you'll remove your focus of energy. Incarnating is a focus of energy. It's like a beam of light onto a string of reality. That's a singular light onto reality is how you all perceive this dimensional body. That's what allows you to see one reality as opposed to all the other strings. The light's very focused. It's not diffused at all. In the higher realms, the light's a bit more diffused and you're seeing down other timelines and everything. So literally you remove your focus and you go elsewhere. It's not difficult, it's not traumatic, and you don't feel like you have to go back. You do review lives with councils, but it's not quite the same because you already have all the knowledge and memory. So, you get some advice from friends, but it's a bit different because you already have an expanded sense of awareness. But when you're coming from Earth, it is so dense that you do utilize your councils a lot more because you can still be a bit disoriented. And looking at all the intricacies of density, it's far more intricate than some of the other realities. And so you really need your counsel to help you, to give you some feedback, because it is so complex. Two heads are better than one. The collective, because you are part of the collective. So you utilize that knowledge and wisdom. Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Then I have a question, Mama.
Yes.
You were talking about Atlantis before, and Atlantic people, but in my vision, in about the same time, the Lemurians were living.
Yes.
And as I encounter quite a bit of Lemurian energy nowadays, I wonder what's the difference really between Lemurian and Atlantis. What influence has it on our development?
Well, it depended on which part of the Atlantean civilization you're talking about. So, Lemuria ceased to exist before the fall of Atlantis. The Lemurians were the first to go. They saw that the planet was falling into density, and they decided that they weren't interested in going fully with it. And so they shifted their consciousness. The Lemurians were far more aware of their divine nature and of living in balance with nature, of their stellar origins. And so they communicated. Many went back to Lyra. Many of the Lemurians were from the Lyran star system. That's where it was seeded from. So many of them went back to that home system. And the energy was much lighter than Atlantis, at least what you are thinking of Atlantis when you associate yourselves with Atlantis. It's the last go-round. It's when it was at its densest. And that ability to see yourselves as a divine spark, as we said, was still held within the priestly caste, but it was also abused. And within Atlantis, you had three sects. You had your, if you want to call them white robes, those who worked wholly with the law of one, who would do absolutely nothing to interfere with nature. It didn't matter what humanity wanted at all. So their own will was, in a sense, removed. And then you had those who were at the other extreme, who, if you want to call them the dark robes or the black robes, you can call them that, who used their personal power more than the power of one. And they would allow themselves the luxury, as it were, to do whatever they wanted and didn't care about Mother Earth or anyone else for that matter. It was about attaining more personal power. And then you had those who were in the middle, your grey robes, who wanted to work with nature, who wanted to work with the power of one, but respected Earth and respected the value of humanity and humanity's desires. So it really was the beginning of integration. You had both polarities, the white and the dark, and then the grey were trying to find the middle road. So the big difference between the two societies was their awareness of self, their awareness of what it is they were creating and manifesting for themselves. And the Lemurians had an ability to expand and switch their operating systems, just as you do in density right now, with more efficiency and more awareness, so that they can connect with the higher realms and that they can manipulate their reality and communicate with other species on the planet. In many ways, they were far more advanced. Well, in many, many ways, they were far more advanced telepathically and in their communication. You know, the Mer people were there. They were present at the same time, and many of them chose to leave at that same time. That species was present on your planet. It's where a lot of your mythology comes from. Your mythology of the sirens comes from the Mer people, because they were able to work with tone and sound and create beautiful music. And so when the Lemurians interacted with them, they didn't want to leave, because it was so beautiful. It was almost like the tones of the celestial realms. And it was seductive. And so that's where your mythology comes from. So we hope that in some way we've answered your question there. Was there something specific?
No, just
So the energies, it was still coming down through the process of dissension, but the Lyrans decided they wanted to go and the Atlantans kept going. It kept going. All right. Anything else? All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. It's been a real treat, a real pleasure, and a real honor for us. So we want to acknowledge all of your hard work. We know that it is not easy to be in your position. We also want to thank you for everything that you're doing and the education that you are giving us. So we are not just sharing information with you, you are sharing information with us, and we're learning a lot, so thank you very much. Know that you're not alone, as we've said several times this afternoon. Each and every one of you has at least 3 people with you. So you've got lots of assistance on the other side. You simply have to open up to it. We'll be around. You can call on us at any time. You don't need an intermediary. You don't need Wendy to channel for you. All you have to do is ask for assistance, listen, trust what you get. If there's any doubt, ask for confirmation, and until then, we'll be watching and waiting and sending many well wishes.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.